All right, well, welcome, Paradigm Shifters. Judy Matejek here, and this is our month on springing into action. I'm so grateful for Paradigm Shifters because we are a community, global, growing global. In fact, last week we hit the magic mark of 1,400 members. How's that for you? And, we're a growing global community dedicated to shift and uplift the entire planet. So, as we dive into our third week in April, we'll be getting deeper and deeper into these. What does it mean springing into actions? And I'm we are bringing on today one of my good buddies, Gina. Gina Eubank. And I first met you, Gina. Oh my gosh, so many years ago when we've danced together, we've worn weird outfits together.
We
And
have.
it's been such a pleasure to be on this journey with you. And I know you have so much to impart on this topic. And I so appreciate you coming in and doing the do.
Yes, that is one of my favorites, doing the do. And that's one of the things I love about the community that you've created here. How the whole mission is to uplift and raise the global consciousness. And with that, it at the end of the day, it's everyone in Paradigm Shifters, all of us collectively doing the do at the end of the day. So it's a beautiful mission with tremendous impact. And in my lifetime, it seems like the planet, the globe, the world, that this is really a time for the consciousness to be raised. And I'm just in awe of this group and the wisdom and the transformation that they are doing, actually doing out in the world for this cause. So thank you, Judy.
Well, you're so welcome. So I'm going to just turn this over to you. And I know you have so many gold nuggets. And every now and then I'm going to pop in and go, okay, you guys, write that one down. So go ahead. I'm turning this over to you and tell us well, a little bit about who you are, where you are, and, and then boom, dive in. Come on in.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Gina Eubank, and by education, I am a pharmacist, and I practiced pharmacy for over 20 years, worked for HEB, which is in Texas, and I was their spokesperson for health and wellness, and then I worked for Walmart also. And so now what I'm doing is I'm living in Puerto Rico with my husband and my puppies, Karma and Peyton. And I've been a life mastery consultant, a coach since 2014. And so this coaching work is just it's a soul calling. It really is. And because throughout my life, I've been really fascinated by people that are able to achieve extraordinary results when the deck was stacked against them. Like, how did they find that strength, that from inside to do the do and overcome those odds? Like Oprah Winfrey, she was told she was not meant for TV. What did she think and do in order to overcome? And I like to call it the secretary in your brain, that voice in your head that isn't the encourager, that can, because we have the voice that comes and is like, yeah, you can do it, you can do it. And I call that Solution Sally. And then we have Negative Nelly. And so all of a sudden you'll hear this voice and they'll be handing you a note and you're like, that's a good point. And then all of a sudden you realize that is the voice of dissuasion or discouragement. And so it's like this post-it note is sliding up. And so one of the things I've learned over the years is how to crinkle that up and say, no, we're doing this thing. And so, going back to all these people that have inspired me, Michael Jordan, how he was cut from his high school basketball team and basically told he didn't have what it took. And then, of course, we know how that ends. He ended up being one of the greatest of all times in basketball. Steve Jobs getting fired from Apple And now, we know what he did for Apple. We're all be able to listen to songs because of him. So I got really curious about all these people that were achieving these results. And then I had this friend, this dear friend, and she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And, here it was, December 13th. She is in her home by herself. She has braces on both wrists. She's leaning over the sink and vomiting because the brain tumor, it's pressing on the optic nerve, this nerve behind the eye, and her vision's blurred and she's in horrible pain and, tears streaming down her face, vomiting. And she reaches over to grab a glass of water to try to rinse her mouth out. And she can't feel the glass because of all the medications that she's on. It's caused swelling. So she has carpal tunnel. So she drops the glass on the tile and it shatters. And she's on her hands and knees and she's sobbing and she can't feel the glass and her hands are bleeding. And she just gives up on trying to pick it up and falls back against the cabinet. And she just like, how is this my life? How am I facing brain surgery? How is this where it's led after 10 years of fighting this? And so in that moment, she heard this voice. It was her higher power. And we can do this. And so in that moment, she made a decision. She wasn't going to have brain surgery until she's had exhausted every single resource that her and her higher power could find. And so fast forward 8 months later, and this is back in 2004. So fast forward to 2004. So 8 months, she's off 11 prescription drugs, no braces, feels great, and tumor gone, completely gone. And the doctor said that's a medical anomaly. And, this dear friend, it was me. And so, I really want to unpack that because I didn't pluck a 4-leaf lucky clover. And these other people, they're not lucky. And it wasn't, I'm incredibly grateful that I went through that situation because it helped me organize my thoughts and a system to unpack on how you achieve these results. And so if you ever find yourself in a situation where I like to call it a 10-finger spread, where you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do here? Like, and because it could be with your health, it could be with your business, it could be relationships, finances, whatever the 10-finger spread is. How do you calm your nervous system? How do you find a way to spring into action and to believe it on a cellular level that how this story ends? So that's what I'd like to dive into today, Judy. Okay, cool. So it all starts with, having that vision. And, we've heard that term vision, and a lot of people, they tend to turn the volume off or shut off because they think, oh, I know about a vision, smission, I'm supposed to have one. Well, here's the important thing about a vision. It's got to be something that you would love, absolutely love. And, I invite you, as that secretary's coming up and, you're starting to write it down on a piece of paper. She's like, how are you going to do that? And so you've got to be able to say, I'm not worried about the how. We're going to discuss that later. So you put that over on the side, and it really comes down to closing your eyes. This is one thing I'll do is I'll close my eyes and I'll put my hand on my heart and I'll pretend like the fairy godmother from Cinderella is there. And she's just waving the magic wand. It all works out, Gina. And so then I'll think about, because we're either pulled by a vision of what we would absolutely love, or we're pushed by pain. So with my situation, I was pushed by pain, but also um, I wanted to live, so there was that desire to do more and in life that I knew it wasn't time for my book here on this physical plane to be over with. And I didn't want to have regret. And so for me, when I'm coming up with a vision, I will think about what I would love to, so I can have that burning fire. But then if I'm having trouble, attaching to it, like really emotionalizing it, I'll think about, Gina, okay, let's fast forward here. And 10 years go by. What if you settled for the life that you have now? What if you settle? Because you've got a good life, you know, and good is can be the enemy of great, because it's on that edge of you becoming more that you can discover who you are, you can serve and help more, but it requires being brave. And one of the things that I also tell myself when I'm coming up with a vision is, you know, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about this burning desire. And so if you think of a pot of water when you're in the kitchen and you're trying to boil it, well, if you heat the water up to 211 degrees, it's just a pot of hot water. But once you hit 212 for the number, you've got bubbles, you've got action, you've got steam, you have phase change. So knowing when you create your vision that it's something that pulls your heart, where you're like, oh, I would absolutely love that. So, thinking about, is it something I'm absolutely in love with? Does it cause me to grow? Also, does it require my higher power? Do I know how to do this? If I know how to do something similar to it, then as Bob Proctor says, it's just a goal. You already know how to do it. So it's got to be something where you stretch and you become more as you're doing this. And then, is it good for others? And when it passes that test, then you're like, okay, game on. You put your seatbelt on. Let's get this party started. Like, let's go. So then after that, thinking about everything is energy. And I love Albert Einstein. He talks about everything, how you must match the frequency of the reality that you want. And you cannot help but get that reality. This is not philosophy. This is physics. And so when the scientist in me, when I read that and heard that, I was like, that is powerful. Because then that secretary that in my brain, that negative Nelly that's trying to tell me why this won't work, why I shouldn't do it, why I should settle for good. Do you really want to work that hard? Do you really want to do this? It'd be so much easier to just have surgery and go in and have them get it done. And then, you'll recover for a week or two and you're good. But no, knowing that certainty of that, this is physics, this is quantum physics, there's an exact code to it. And then thinking of the other part that I'll think of is when you have an electrician come as you're building a house, they install the electrical system in there and they follow an exact plan. And when they follow every step and do it to code this exact equation, then when you flip the lights on, you've got lights.
There you go. I just pinpoint right there. Okay. And my question in this is, matching the frequency sounds one thing, but what are some actual, tools where we could that you've used to, when you're off frequency, where you get, okay, throughout the day, how do you stay on that frequency of that burning desire?
Great question, my dear.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorites. So there is an energy cone. And what we can do, Judy, is we can put it in the thread underneath this
Yeah.
video,
Hmm.
and it's this energy code. And Stanford did a study where they measured the frequency, so how much an item vibrates, okay, or how thoughts vibrate. And so it's measured in a unit of hertz.
Okay.
And so they found that when people are thinking love, feeling love, where it's emitting from them, that's a frequency of 500.
Okay.
Okay. The frequency of fear is 100. And abundance, everything that we want in life, it's on the frequency of gratitude. And gratitude is a little lower than 500. So my goal is, because when I interact with anyone, whether it be even my puppies, other people's dogs, let alone a person, anyone I interact with, I want them to feel love emitting from me, that they leave that interaction feeling even better. And so because I see that cone and that 500, and that 500 to me represents my higher power, and I given a high five. That's a high five that I'm doing. So here's a little hack that I do. My Apple Watch tracks my steps each day. So I use my imagination and I pretend that my Apple Watch is like a bank. And as I'm navigating my day and I'm feeling love and just sending out these positive emotions, love, joy, laughter, praising others, uh, I am making deposits into my Apple Watch, because that keeps track of my frequency for the day. And so if I notice, the secretary all of a sudden, and I noticed, my goodness, I was thinking, um, fear, and that brought my balance down to 100. Then all of a sudden I've got 500 minus 100. Well, my bank account is all of a sudden at 400. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't want to bounce any checks to the universe. What I'm ordering up, I've got to do something to increase my balance. So I will jump up one of my absolute favorites.
Tell me more.
It's called cross crawl.
Cross
And
crawl. Okay.
yes, and cross crawl. This study. It was written about in Inc. magazine, which is a business magazine. Because remember, once again, I'm a scientist, so I love finding these little hacks. So Inc. magazine, they talked about, there was a 16-year-old that wasn't able to read, and his parents had taken him to numerous doctors, and to no avail. And they took him to this one doctor, and the doctor said, you know what, let's do an experiment. And this is one of my favorite ways I'll talk to my secretary. Let's do an experiment. So they decided to have their son cross crawl for 4 minutes in the morning and 4 minutes in the evening. So that's an investment of 8 minutes in a day. Okay. And they did it for 6 weeks. That's the only thing that they changed. And they did it as a family. Fast forward 6 weeks later, and the 16-year-old can read. I mean, I just was like, oh my gosh. So not only is it incredible that it connects the right and left hemisphere, but here's where it ties into the energy frequency, because it causes your body to release, your brain to release the feel good chemicals. So the pharmacist in me is like, yes, what people go to the pharmacy for, depression, things like that. They're picking up medications that'll increase norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin. Well, here we are with cross crawl, and it increases those chemicals, and it connects your right and left hemisphere. So all of a sudden you've done this biohack on your body and increased your vibration. That money bank, your energy bank, it's gone up. And so I'm going to demonstrate real quickly. And what I'll do is I'll put on a really fun song.
Oh, I could. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, you want us to do it, Judy?
Yeah, I want to. I want to see. Yeah, keep
You want
going.
me to demonstrate? Okay, so how you do the cross crawl, it's super simple, is you stand up and you take your right hand and you raise your left hand, and then you take the right hand and you touch your left knee and you go like this. And here's another interesting thing is Formula One drivers do this because it helps them increase, they call it their spidey senses, where they can sense that invisible energy that's telling them that it's way beyond what their logical mind can sense. So when they know accelerate, put on the brake, turn here, do this, so they can anticipate things. So it helps your intuition as well.
Cool beans. Okay.
I know. So I love it. And so I'll do cross crawl to one song, and then I follow up after the cross crawl. I'll do the power pose.
Okay. So cross pose and power pose. Tell us the importance of a power pose.
Okay,
If you
great.
could, please. Power pose.
So
What is it?
power pose is where one example, you can raise your arms like a superhero, like a victory, or another one you can do is stand up and just go like this and put your hands like that and just feel that power emitting from you, that higher power from you, and just believe, lean into that. And what it does biochemically is, because I love biohacks, and so the excess cortisol, so cortisol is this hormone that flows in your body, and it's our fight or flight hormone, which we need at normal levels. But when we get stressed, then it causes it to spike. And it makes it difficult for us to hear that small, still voice, plug into that intuition, and use the logical mind and the creative mind. And so this power pose, it decreases the excess cortisol by 25%. I mean, that's good math. I mean,
here's something else I want to ask you. So
sure.
when you're in the power pose,
Uh-huh.
how important is it to bring to mind the vision of you being in the vision? Is that part of it? I mean,
Yes.
connecting the mind
Great.
and the body. That's the question I wanted to throw in here.
Great point. Because by focusing on the end result, it all worked out. And that raises your vibration. So it takes you to the top of that cone. And not only you can tell because it feels good in your body, but then by physically putting your arms here at your hips or raising in the victory pose, then it changes the biochemistry, which gives you that extra boost because you've decreased that fight or flight hormone 25%, and you've increased your testosterone by 20%. And why testosterone matters, because a lot of women are like, well, I don't want testosterone. And it's like, yes, we do. Women have naturally testosterone in our bodies, and it not only helps with our bone health, our heart, all of that, but it also, men and women both, it helps us with our ability to focus. It provides more confidence. It allows us to be brave and courageous, to take that next action step. And so, I mean, right there in 6 minutes. So you cross crawl for 4 minutes, connect both sides of your brain. Here's the magic formula. Okay. 4 minutes cross crawl, connect right and left hemisphere of the brain. You've got the bonus of the chemicals, norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin. So you've stacked the deck there. And then you do the power pose for 2 minutes. You sweep out that excess cortisol, increase your testosterone. You've got the focus, the confidence, and the stamina, the bravery to do the do. the end of the day to get it done. So that's one of my favorite ways. Even if let's say I'm out and I'm about to walk into a meeting, and I used to for HEB, I was on CBS, Great Day Houston, a TV show. I was the regular pharmacist there. And so
Oh,
what
really?
I did. And so what I would do, I'd be mic'd up, and I'd make sure my mic was turned off. And then I'd go in the restroom and in the stall, and I'd be back there by myself, and I'm going, and then my power pose afterwards, because I got to stack the deck and make sure I can be plugged into my higher power and divinely led on what I'm supposed to say and share. And so, I invite everyone to just do an experiment with yourself. If you're getting ready to write something, do something creative, or if you're wanting to uh, do something brave, where you're thinking, what is my next action step? Just do an experiment for like 7 days. And then because that's what I'll negotiate with the secretary. I'll say, look, we're going to do an experiment for 7 days, or we're going to do an experiment for 30 days or 90 days. I really love 90-day experiments, but if it's something that seems really far out there for me, I'll negotiate and I'll say, okay, settle down, honey. We're just going to do 7 days. And then I'm thinking in my mind, we're going to renegotiate day 8, So
Oh my gosh, I have one more thing that it's just cracking me up because I know another hack that you do that about jumping into a cold shower in ice
yes.
water. And I know this sounds far out, you guys, but come in here and talk about that. And I would love that. And I know we might be getting off track, but when I was thinking about that, when you tell me that the other day, I'm like, oh, that's right. I remember when I thought that was really good, and then I fell off the wagon with that. So tell me why that is a continuous part of your.
Okay. So this is one of my favorites too. And Tony Robbins turned me on to this, and I've studied with Tony since 2004, been a platinum partner. So it's just last March. So March of 2021, I'd attended Business Mastery, and we were getting ready to move to Puerto Rico. And, so there was a lot of bravery involved in bringing this to fruition. And so I thought, I've got to really up my game in being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And so that's what I thought, that was my outcome. Like, I want to up my game with that. So it was 100% about making myself do something that I didn't want to do. And because there's tremendous health benefits from taking a cold shower or a cold bath. And, it'll boost your immune system. It'll cause your brain to release dopamine, which is that feel good chemical. It'll reduce inflammation in your body. So the scientist in me is like, okay, yes, I know all these health benefits are good. But at the end of the day, my outcome was I wanted to up my ability to be brave. So I told my secretary, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get in a tub of cold water for 30 days. Okay. And we're going to do it for one song. And we're going to let the universe pick the song. And that way I'm not sitting there looking at the phone, like how many more seconds? Ah! And so what I did was I would take a hot shower. And while I was in the shower, we had a separate tub, and I'd have the tub going 100% cold water. And I'll never forget that first day, Judy. And this went on for about 3 days. The first day, I'm standing outside the tub after getting out of this hot shower, and I'm looking at this cold water, and I almost have a panic attack. I mean, my heart is racing, and my secretary is going, Gina, you have come up with some really crazy things, but this seems like like, why? And I was like, zip it. We're going to do this. And so I got in the water and sunk down and got it, my all the way up to here. So just my head. And I mean, I'm just like, and I mean, I'm shivering the whole bit, and I'm breathing in through my nose, holding it, exhale, and I'm just really focused on my breath. And before I got in, I hit that play on the song so I could have that song to distract me and then focus on my breath, because I wanted to take my body, my nervous system out of that fight or flight response into the rest, digest. And the breath is the fastest way to bring you back into that Zen place. And so I would lay in there and I'd inhale through my nose, and I'd try to do a count of 4, inhale, try to hold for a count of 8, and then exhale for 8. But in the beginning, I was just like, just doing the best that I could, like just stay in, Gina, in through your nose. And so I noticed after I did that the first day, for one thing, I was in jeans and wool socks and long johns and a sweater afterwards because I was just shivering, and it took me like 6 hours to warm up. So the secretary was having a heyday with me of saying, this is nuts, Gina. Like, you live in Texas, you're talking to clients, and it's 85 degrees outside, and you're in a turtleneck and a cardigan, and and so I was like, but I noticed that my confidence for the day and my ability to make myself do the thing that would have been like, maybe you could put this off, maybe all those excuses, delay, dissuasion, you don't really know how to do that, Gina. And so I was able to negotiate with the secretary and say, look, that's going to be a piece of cake. You just made yourself sit in the tub with cold water for 3 minutes. Like, this is a piece of cake. And so then I got a little braver with it because, I knew other people, Tony, he gets in ice, where it's a cold plunge and it's 50 degrees. So then what I started doing is I get out of the shower and wrap my towel, and then I go to the freezer and I get out the whole tray of all, like, big tray with ice, and I go conk and dump all the ice in there. So I'm watching all these ice cubes swim around, and my husband Damon is like, you're really going to get in there? That's, yeah. And he's like, and he knows I can't stand cold weather. That I don't even like cold. And so he's just watching me because he knows I like the house at about 80 degrees. We constantly are, the negotiating over the thermostat. So he's watching me. And once again, I'm controlling my breath before I get in, when I get in the tub. And then he notices my resilience during the day and my ability to make myself do the thing that normally I'd have more apprehension about, be more fearful, more, oh gosh, can you help me with this? All of those things where the secretary just is pulling you down like crabs in the bucket, where you're like, and you're like, ah. So he noticed that. And then, Judy, he started doing it.
Of course.
So he was taking the ice bath afterwards. And so what I do now is every day, non-negotiable. I either take a cold bath with the ice, where I go and get the ice, or let's say I'm traveling and, I'm in a hotel room and they don't have a tub, then I'll take a shower, a cold shower. And for me, what I've discovered, the cold showers are much more difficult because they're pinging you, the beads of water, and I found it more difficult to get to that Zen place. But the nice thing about the cold shower is you can start out with that for even 10 seconds and stand in there and be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And you're like, I did it, And because if you think of like a snowball, okay, because what we're doing here is we're stacking micro wins. You're stacking where you've done things successfully, okay, where you've overcome it. And so the analogy is thinking of a snowball. It starts out super small and then you roll it, and then, oh my goodness, it starts to grow and grow and grow. So if we're doing that one thing each day, just one thing that really matters, and us taking the step that we can in the direction of our dream, we if we do one of those a day, 365 days later, we have 365 things that we've been out doing the do.
I love it. Out doing the do. Wow, 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 wow. I've got notes like crazy. And I love this that this is recorded and we can go back, and do so many things. And so yeah, I want to take a deep breath in here and just phew, okay, so you talked about the 500, that the 500 and the gratitude and your Apple Watch and the cross call and the power pose and the oh my gosh and the this on and on and on. We go on forever, but I
We
love it.
could,
And
we
for
could.
me, I am making commitment to the cold baths. I'm just going to say that to the world here, and just watch me grow. So here's what we like to do at the end of our interview, and we definitely want to have you back to see how it's going.
I
And
love it.
we want to hold some space for you, Gina,
Mhm.
and Damon and everyone in your world. What is it that you would love to have this community, global community, love to hold for you? And we're going to put some energy out there. What would you love, Gina?
My goodness, what would I love? Well, one of the things that I'm working on is, my work in the world and as a coach. And I want to grow that community. And I have a class, Magnet Mindset Master's Program. And so I would love to have people just start following me on Facebook. And so you can look me up, Gina Eubank, results expert. But I want to give you a free gift because if you go to Gina Eubank, Gina, and then Eubank, EUB as in boy, ANK.com, I have a healthy tracking tool and I would love to give it to your community. And it's a way that they can stay in that cone of vibration, like we talked about. And that will lean into your mission with the paradigm shifters of elevating the consciousness. And it gives everybody an opportunity to have a taste of, you know, the healthy tracking tool. So it would really help them. And then, just keep in touch with me. I'd love to know how everybody's doing. And I'm here to support. I mean, that's, I feel like I was given this miracle, because this healing that occurred for me in August, it'll be 18 years I've been vibrantly healthy. And so, that's such a gift. And so, with each day that I wake up, it truly is a present because yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a present. And I'm here to serve. And to help. And
And
so,
so I just love it. And so we're going to wrap our arms around you, our virtual arms, and can't wait to see you in person. And I will put all the information in the group, and it'll be a YouTube, and so it is. So thank you so much for coming on here. What a gift you are, Gina, and what a light you are to
thank you, my
all of
dear.
us in this.
You too. Love you, my dear, so much. So, thank you.
Amen.
Amen.